The Jeff Younger Show is on, dedicated to my sons, James and Jude. Look, at some point in your career, someone will try to destroy your reputation. It won't be through direct confrontation. It won't be by challenging your work in the open. It won't be by going after your arguments. It'll be by gossip. Through whisper campaigns, through strategic character assassination that'll be conducted completely behind your back. Here's what you need to understand. This is a specific kind of warfare. It has its own rules, its own psychology, and its own countermeasures. It's also, I think, important to recognize that it's inherently effeminate in nature. Okay, I don't mean that as a slur, I just mean it as a diagnostic. This is how neurotic women fight. And when men adopt these tactics, you need to understand what you're actually dealing with and respond accordingly. You're basically dealing with an effeminate man. But today we're going to talk about how gossip warfare works and how you can survive it. Let's be precise about what we're discussing. Direct confrontation is masculine. You have a problem with me, you say it to my face, we resolve it through argument, through competition, maybe through force if necessary. I like resolving disagreements by force. The outcome is visible, the conflict is acknowledged. Gossip warfare is the opposite. The attacker never confronts you directly. Instead, they poison the well, they drop derogatory comments into conversations, they quote you out of context, they express concern in ways that are designed to damage you. Things like, I'm very fond of Mike. I don't know why so many people have problems with him. It's just really a mystery to me. This sentence contains no explicit accusation, but it plants an idea that many people dislike you, positions the speaker as charitable, and it invites the listener to wonder what's wrong with you. It's totally deniable, and that's the point. Anthropologists have studied this for decades. Gossip allows people to lower others in order to raise themselves, and it does so without the risk of direct conflict. It's social warfare conducted through plausible deniability. When men engage in this behavior, they've adopted a feminine mode of conflict. They're operating indirectly because they can't or won't operate directly. And that tells you something important about who you're dealing with. And I think it is important to have some disdain for people who gossip. I think in the Christian tradition and most of the Abrahamic religious traditions, gossip is seen as one of the worst sins for a reason. A man who gossips against you instead of confronting you is telling you several things. First of all, he's afraid of direct conflict. He doesn't think he can win an open competition, whether that's competition of ideas, work quality, or of status. He fights in ways that avoid direct engagement. He's a pussy. Second, he's neurotic. This is not an insult, it's a clinical observation, okay? Neurotic behavior is characterized by anxiety, indirectness, and the need for social approval. The gossiper needs other people to do his dirty work. He needs the group to turn against you so he doesn't have to face you alone, again, because he's a pussy. Third, he's often motivated by envy. Gossip attacks frequently target men who are succeeding, okay? Gossip attacks are rarely launched against people who are not a threat. If you're experiencing a gossip attack, you know you're a threat and you're succeeding. The attacker just can't match you, so they try to undermine your reputation instead. If he can't rise, he'll try to bring you down. That's just how it works. Fourth, he may genuinely believe his own stupid narrative. Sometimes, this is important, sometimes these people actually believe the lies about you. Maybe they're the most dangerous gossipers, right? Because they believe that they're just really are sharing concerns and being honest about what they observed, even though they actually never observed anything. They don't see themselves as attackers. In their own minds, they're the reasonable ones, simply noting what everyone else is too afraid to say. This combination for fear, neuroticism, envy, self-deception, this is why you're dealing with these people. And when you understand it clearly, you understand why direct confrontation will often fail, because they're just going to run away. You're not dealing with someone who operates by masculine rules. Let's look at the tactical landscape when you're dealing with these pussies. Gossip warfare targets your reputation with people who matter, bosses, decision makers, political allies. The attacker is trying to shape how others perceive you before you even enter the room. And here's how it typically unfolds. Stage one, they'll test the waters. The gossiper drops small negative comments to see how people react. If they push back, he backs off. If they nod along, he escalates. Stage two is building the coalition. He tries to locate people that he can convert as allies. He looks for each person that agrees with him, and that becomes another source of the narrative. He can make it expand like a web. It just starts expanding. It's not just him saying it. Now it's what people are saying. Stage three is establishing the narrative. Once enough people have heard the story, it becomes the default frame through which others interpret your actions. Everything you do gets filtered through the negative narrative. You're not ambitious. You're difficult. You're not confident. You're arrogant. The frame is set before you even know you're being judged. Stage four is exclusion. That's what they're ultimately aiming for. Eventually, you just stop getting invited to certain meetings, information stops flowing to you, opportunities go elsewhere. You've been frozen out, and you probably don't even know why. This entire process can happen over months without you even being aware of it. It's happened to me in companies. But by the time you notice, the damage may have already been done. So how do you fight back against this kind of effeminate pussy bullshit? First, you need to build a network before you need it. The best defense against gossip is what psychologists call idiosyncrasy credits, goodwill that's stored up with people over time. When someone attacks you, people who know you will discount the attack. They'll think, that doesn't sound like him. He's been super nice to me and he's been helpful. In fact, I owe him a couple of favors. But this only works if you've invested in those relationships before the attack comes. Don't wait until you're under fire to start building alliances. By then, it's too late. Second, get intelligence. You need people who will tell you what's being said about you. And this requires trusted relationships with people who are in the information flow. When you hear that someone is poisoning the well, you at least know it's happening. Like most men find out about gossip campaigns long after they started, sometimes only when the damage is already severe. I've seen people actually terminated from companies and they didn't even know why. It was because of a gossip campaign. Early detection changes everything. Third thing is inoculate. Once an attack is underway, you can inoculate, keep people against it. Let them know without excessive drama that you're aware someone is spreading negative information about you. This primes them to be skeptical when they do hear it. You don't have to name the attacker. You can simply say, look, I've heard some things are being said about me. I want you to know my door is open if you ever want to ask me directly. This does two things. It signals that you're aware and it positions you as a reasonable party who welcomes direct conversation. And people are going to say to the gossiper, why aren't you just going and talking to him directly about this? Why are you doing this? It really helps to position the gossip network in a lower light. Fourth, confront, but you got to do this carefully, okay? There's a time to confront the gossiper directly, but you have to understand what you're dealing with. A direct, aggressive confrontation just often doesn't work because the gossiper will deny everything. Remember, he did it in a deniable way. And then he's going to use your confrontation as evidence that you're difficult or aggressive. Instead, make clear that you know what's happening, that it won't work, and that you'll just be watching. Something like, I know exactly what you've been doing. I want you to know I know, and I want you to understand that it's not going to work. The gossiper is going to deny it. That's fine. The point is not to get a confession. The point is to put them on notice publicly that you know you're not an easy target. And fifth, look, don't mirror this behavior. The temptation is to fight gossip with gossip, to start your own whisper campaign against the attacker. Don't do this. It actually pulls you into their effeminate mode of warfare and thinking. It damages your own reputation because people start thinking of you as a little effeminate pussy. And it really often doesn't work because, frankly, if you're not naturally inclined to this kind of fighting, you're not going to do it well. So stay in your lane, compete on your actual work, and let your performance speak. Build your alliances early. But there's a deeper level to this. A man who attacks you through gossip is operating from weakness. He's afraid to face you directly, and he needs the group to do his fighting for him. He's adopted these effeminate tactics because he can't win as man. Now, that doesn't mean he's not dangerous, okay? Neurotic women can be extremely effective at social warfare. They've been practicing it their whole lives. A man who adopts these tactics may have learned them well his whole life too, okay? But it does mean that you should understand what you're dealing with. You are not dealing with a peer competitor. You're dealing with an inferior. You're dealing with someone who, in a sense, surrendered the masculine playing field. Your job is not to descend to his level. Your job is to protect yourself, maintain your position, and continue to compete where competition actually matters in the quality of work, in your relationships with people who matter, and in your actual accomplishments. The gossiper is betting he can destroy you without ever having to face you. So just don't let him do that. Make your presence felt. Continue to outperform. Continue to build your alliances. And when necessary, just make clear publicly you see exactly what's happening. In fact, the fact that you don't even have to respond to this person positions them as an insignificant fly that you don't have to worry about. So many gossipers are cowards. And when they realize that you're not going to fold, a lot of them just move on to easier prey. I've seen that's been definitely what's happened to me in the past, and they've all just moved on. Look, gossip warfare is real. I've seen it destroy careers. It operates through plausible deniability and social manipulation. It's also extremely effeminate and pussified in nature. And when men engage in it, you need to recognize what you're dealing with, a distinct inferior to yourself. You're not facing a direct competitor. You're facing someone who fights through indirection because he can't win otherwise. So build your network before you need it. Get intelligence, inoculate key relationships, confront when necessary, but do it on your terms, not his, and don't mirror the behavior. The gossiper hopes you'll never see him coming, and now you know what to look for. The future belongs to men who can see clearly and act accordingly. That's what I've got for you today. Now, go take stock of what I've said and put it to good use. The Jeff Younger Show, signing off.